Hey guys, welcome to Game Week 20 of the Final Whistle podcast. Big points dropped, in my humble opinion, by the Reds. It is what it is. We are going to talk about all the action and how it impacted Liverpool Football Club. And we're going to start with Liverpool, aren't we, Ben? Ben, I missed you last week, but I did have a good sub in. You missed the cracking game. Plenty to talk about in this one as well. So you know what? I'm going to let you take the lead. I initially thought this game was going to be easy. The worst Man United team I've ever seen. Not scored in 3 goals, conceded 7 in the last 3 games. Lost to the likes of Wolves. And take it away.
I don't even know where to start. I mean, people say about the conditions maybe is a bit of a leveler, but I just don't think Liverpool were up for it, and I think that's the most annoying thing. I mean, they're a bang average team, and we made them look quite good at times. And I mean, I've got some stats here about tackles, ground duels. We were absolutely shocking. I saw a stat that we're the first team this season that didn't make a single tackle in the first half of a Premier League game this whole season. So that kind of sums it all up. And considering McAllister and Gravenberch were probably the 2 best players on the pitch, I kind of tweeted at halftime that maybe the fact that they were shining so much was kind of a poor reflection on us because they were covering a fullback, they were covering on the wings. I mean, McAllister was probably our biggest goal threat, so it was a bit all over the place and a bit dejected after it, to be honest.
You know what sent me over the edge? That little hobbit scored. If it had been a header, it really would have sent me over the edge. Like, literally, I know I'm in no position to talk because I'm not the tallest. Everyone knows this. But my word, I mean, that was 6 minutes of pure agony for me when they took the lead. It was embarrassing. I just felt like, you kind of spoke about, McAllister and Gravenberch covering for the fullbacks. I felt like the centre-backs were doing it as well. I don't know about you. First of all, I'm seething that we dropped points given how everyone else did around Liverpool. Like the title contenders, shall we say? For me, when I was watching that game, it felt like we were men short. I felt like we weren't covering the ground. Like there was just so much space because, like you said, players were pulled apart. But I just felt like when I was watching that game, we were maybe like 10 men down or something. It just felt like they had more men on the pitch. I don't know.
Yeah, I hate singling players out, but I think a lot of that is down to Jones. I thought Jones was really, really poor, and Agate decides to have a brilliant game, and Manu is back to he's been poor all season. He kind of went back to the Manu of last season, typically, and I think they were just exploiting all the space. And yeah, like you said, Gravenberch and McAllister getting pulled all over the place. But I mean, I know we'll probably get onto it, but Trent and Jones for me were the 2 that really kind of set the tone.
Yeah. I mean, he gave the ball away for the Martinez goal, and and then he failed to kind of cover his man. And it just, it's really bizarre because we know he's had a bit of a week this week, off the pitch stuff, the whole contract talk and Real Madrid. And then, that kind of performance as well, it was almost like he was daydreaming his way, across that performance. It was almost like his head is somewhere else. And I saw a lot of chit chat, and I don't really like going on social media when Liverpool are playing. But I saw a lot of chit chat saying, hook him now, hook him now, hook him now, way before obviously he got hooked. And obviously he was, again, at fault for the second goal. Virgil van Dijk saved his skin. I think it kind of summarizes it really well when like Virgil van Dijk is literally like dropping F-bombs. Like, you could see how angry he was with the vice captain. It was just so poor and smart by Man United for actually targeting him. I don't know whether they thought, oh, hang on a minute, he's been in the press a bit, his head's turned a little. Let's target him, because I actually do think Trent overall this season has been pretty decent defensively.
Yeah, he's been much improved, I would say, compared to recent seasons. But just looking at some of his stats here, he didn't make a single tackle, didn't win a single ground duel, was dribbled past 2 times. And then Conor Bradley came on and within 10 minutes won 3 out of 3 ground duels and a tackle. So it doesn't read well at all. But now Liverpool are in this really tricky situation where obviously with a contract, you could drop him and start Bradley, but then that's kind of opens a whole new can of worms about where his future lies. And yeah, his head was, and that like Neil says there, that's a worrying thing. we've always known like these things get to Trent. It's never been kind of like, we all know deep down Trent, when he makes a mistake, his head does go. But like you say, today was kind of like it wasn't like a disappointed. It was kind of like a lackadaisical kind of, what will be. And against Man United of all teams, as a Scouser, as it's just kind of inexcusable.
Yeah, it just was not. I think a lot of people are actually saying that, Gleason, that he does need dropping. I mean, where do you stand on that? I mean, do you think like till something is finalized, or a hard conversation maybe slot? I don't know. Ben, what do you think?
I think there's probably an easy way around this for Slot, with obviously the League Cup and then Accrington. I think he can drop them and send that message without people jumping on. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yes.
the statement still stands, but obviously he's probably likely to get a rest anyway. And Bradley's come on, and he was good when he came on, so he deserves a shot in the starting lineup. But yeah, I thought Trent was. I mean, I was one of those who tweeted, I think, after about an hour, saying that he needed to come off, and I was kind of surprised that it took Slot so long to take him off. Maybe that's to do with Bradley just coming back, obviously not trying to rush him back and make him play half an hour or so. But yeah, and to be honest, I'm not saying he had a bad game, but I didn't think Ibu looked 100% either. And
I know.
I picked up on it after literally about 5 minutes. Just like the way he was running and turning, he wasn't this. Obviously, he's not the same as what he was before the injury. He was never going to be, but he didn't look 100%. And I've seen a few people saying that's kind of indicative of what Slot thinks of Kwanzaa, even more so now. But yeah, it's a tricky one, and that right hand side was getting tortured, and I think we kind of got away with it in the first half because Bruno was out there a lot. If that was an actual left winger with a lot of pace, I think we could have been absolutely done in.
It's really interesting your points about Kanate. I'm going to give him a shout out though. He made 2 accidental great blocks
Yeah.
in the second half. One thing I will say though, when that team lineup was announced, I was like, why not play Kwanzaa? Like they're not going to score. Like the arrogance in me, like let him have his confidence. Rest Ibu, bring him back. And I think that why he was a bit off was, again, literally just past fit. I think Slot did say in the press conference, he started training, and him and Conor Bradley have just started training with the team. And, to be kind of thrusted in from minute one, maybe, like Bradley had, like you said, eased into it a bit more, and it was probably better for him. In hindsight, I'm actually glad Kwanzaa didn't play, because I feel like it would have been a lot worse.
Yeah.
Like hindsight is a wonderful thing, isn't it, when we kind of look back on things. But I am glad that Konate did come in. I just hope, like, obviously, we can keep him fit, and obviously he will get sharp. We know this, you know this. Shout out to Gakpo though. I mean, that brilliance, absolutely majestic stuff from him. I mean, I didn't, like it just felt like, even though like our XG was high, I felt like the final ball and things just didn't feel quite right today, and that was just I don't know, a nice reminder that Liverpool are a great side, and we do have moments of individual brilliance, because I couldn't see the team connecting quite well. Although in the first half there were 2 very good team like collaborations. I think there was a shot by Gakpo and McAllister when Salah puts him that ball in the first half. But other than that, I didn't really see much. So it was good for Gakpo to do that.
It was tricky with the way Man United set up as well. Like obviously they have technically a back 5, and then Agate and Manu were literally on their toes as well. So there was no real gaps in between the defense and midfield, and yeah, it was just hard to break them down. And obviously Gakpo does, and you just like, we kick on from there, we get the penalty, and then to go back and concede that goal, and it's the exact same goal that we conceded against Leicester on Boxing Day, where that ball comes across the box, and the centre half's are defending the 6-yard box, which is normal. And normally, I'm not obviously saying these are to blame, but normally you'd probably have a midfielder in that gap where the ball rolls across. But because the midfielders are constantly covering for Trent, for example, there's no one there, rolls straight across. Robertson doesn't get anywhere near him, and Ahmad just puts it home. So it's just little stuff like that that's really, really frustrating. And another stat that I've seen here is Trent and Robertson had 8 duels between them and only won 1.
Robbo was poor as well, like, let's just say how it is. Both of the fullbacks did not work, and it is something for Slot to maybe think about. I think the scary thing for me, I kind of want to just close off. The brain fart moment from the lit was much appreciated. I mean, that handball, I'm so glad VAR stepped in because, the ref was not going to give that Michael Oliver. So I'm glad that they kind of intervened and made him recheck it. And, a penalty was given, right decision as well. The fridge almost scored at the end. Maguire, I'm so glad that chance fell to him because when I was watching the end of that game, I don't know how you felt, but I feel like they could get a winner here. It gave me Man City versus Man United vibes.
Yeah, they definitely look more likely to score. And I saw that ball go across, and I was like, "Oh no!" And then the second I saw it was Maguire, I was like, oh, "It's fine, it's fine." Like if I felt a Bruno or something, and he would have scored that, and that's a great. But you know what? His Xerxes pass from is awful as well. Nobody will talk about it. He just roll it across the floor, and he bounces it into him, But yeah, another thing that frustrated me just quickly before we move on is I'm not going to criticize Sot obviously because he's been brilliant, but I didn't quite get the whole idea of playing Jota as kind of like a number 10. Like obviously Jota came on for Jones and Darwin came on for Diaz, and I think the one thing we were missing in the first half was like a presence in and around the box, and that's what Jota would have brought. And then we kind of played Jota in this like almost like as a midfielder, and then Nunes offered pretty much nothing. I think I would have maybe played George just as an out and out striker. I wouldn't have brought Nunes on, but I guess at the time you can see why I did. But like you say, hindsight's a brilliant thing. But yeah, it's just a frustrating one.
I think initially probably, I don't know, maybe like you said, we don't really know because like you said, Jones did have a mare, and obviously Szoboszlai was even on the bench. I think he was ill, right? I think that's what the thing is, which kind of now highlights that we actually do need a midfielder. Like it's crucial because like I felt like there was no change in that game, and it would have been great if we actually had an actual midfielder in for an actual midfielder rather than what you just said, him playing 10, which really didn't suit him.
Yeah, I would have rather Elliott come on than Nunes earlier. I thought Elliott put himself about when he came on, but obviously at that point it's a bit too late to really have an effect on the game. So yeah, I think that's what I would have done. But like it's hard to criticise a lot after the season we're having. But it's just little things like that I picked up on today, really.
And I think he'll probably learn from that as well. We'd hope so. And I know for a fact, like he'll be seething at that. Like that is going to give him some sleepless nights because I feel like he's a bit of a perfectionist. But let's move on from Liverpool now. We've done Liverpool. Liverpool are done and dusted. Let's talk about some of our rivals. Shall we talk about Man City beating West Ham 4-1? Even though they scored 4 goals and Haaland scored, Slovenia had a really, really great game. I still felt like they looked really vulnerable.
Yeah, it's weird, isn't it? That's the first thing when I was watching the game, but I was like, right, what went wrong? And to be fair, West Ham had a few chances, and I think if Bourne was playing, I think they probably would have punished them a bit more. But Fulkrug, I know he scores, but Fulkrug and Kudus were quite wasteful. I thought Savinho was really good, to be fair, and he's kind of a player that I've kind of been pointing out. Like he's just hasn't seemed like a Pep Guardiola kind of player. Like his end product's been absolutely awful. But yesterday, I mean, the cross for Haaland's first one, the header is where he beats Kufal and then puts it in. I mean, that's just showcased the quality that he does have. But yeah, I don't know. It was weird to see Man City winning.
Yeah, the funny thing is, right, so they've beaten Leicester now and last weekend, and now they've beaten West Ham, and both of the teams actually had some really decent chances. I think Leicester fans should have been really frustrated from, previous weekend because they had a fair few chances. You spoke about them being wasteful. I thought Kudus and Co had like some really great chances at 0-0. And had one of those gone in, I would have liked to see Man City resolve, like see what they made out of. So yeah, some great points there. But the fact that they're giving up chances, there's lots of space. Their defense looks really, really vulnerable. And I think obviously Pep Guardiola, the tactical genius, will know this anyway. But it's great to see them have weaknesses. We're here for that. So, that's Man City done and dusted. Which one should we talk about next? Because there were some pretty good games, I thought.
We'll do Arsenal. There's a few things we need to talk about from that. This game really grind me gears. The whole time wasting thing, it does me head in. I've always said this about Liverpool, like no matter. Like we could be 1-0 up in a title race. You will never see us get booked for taking too long on a corner, and especially not in the first half. Like it blows me mind that a team supposedly as good as Arsenal resolving to that constantly as well. I think that's like the 8th yellow card they've had for time wasting this season, something like that. I could be wrong, but yeah.
What did you make? Obviously, Namieri scores the goal for Arsenal to put them 1-up. I felt like Brighton up the ante a little in the second half, played a lot better in my opinion. The subs probably helped as well. I felt like some of the players just weren't quite performing. But what did you make of the Saliba thing? Now, I want to get your thoughts because I had like 3 thoughts on this. So I want you to go first.
First look, I thought it was clear as day, and then I saw the slowed down version where he does touch the ball, and then if that was against Liverpool, I would be saying the same thing. But I do think it's a penalty because nowadays, like, getting a touch on the ball isn't enough. You have to like win the ball or be in control of the ball, and like João Pedro like flicks the ball over him, doesn't he? And he was about to run onto it, kind of. So he won the ball and he was in control of the ball until Saliba just headbutted him in the side of the head. So I think it's a penalty, yeah.
See, my initial thought was when I first saw it, I was like, "That's soft."
Yeah.
Like that's soft. Like just
Yeah.
on the eye test, that's soft. And then I was like, then they showed me another angle, and I'm like, no, actually, that's a penalty. And then I watched Match of the Day, and then they kind of showed me what you said, him heading it first, and I was like, well, he did touch the ball first, so you know what? Again, I've gone back to soft. I think if like from a Liverpool perspective, you take it all day, every day, because they do
Yeah.
get really, really soft decisions. However, if that was against my team, I would be absolutely fuming. But one thing I
Yeah.
do like is Arteta being a crybaby to the press. Like, I'm here for that. They're like unicorn tears.
He's unbearable. He actually is. He does me head in.
He has got embarrassing uncle vibes. I can't lie. I mean, like, if I was an Arsenal fan, I'd be like, I can't claim him because he's always like, it's back on, it's back on. Like, and it's
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
ooh, like, just chill out, just chill.
It
Like,
reminds me. It reminds me a bit of like a supply teacher. Like a supply teacher at school, like who
great
like
shout.
acts like they're the real teacher, like nobody
Yeah.
takes them seriously.
Trying to be cool with the kids and like,
But
yeah,
yeah, I thought Brighton probably deserved to win. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I thought Brighton should have won really based on the chances in the end. And Nwaneri went off injured. I thought he got took off because he was on a booking and stuff, but apparently he's injured and he's out for a while now. So him and Saka's out. So be interesting to see how they deal with that.
Yeah, and Arsenal were actually quite I thought Rice's delivery on set pieces was decent, but just nobody attacking. It just felt very yeah, it is what it is. We'll move on from Arsenal now. Which one should we talk about next?
We may as well do Chelsea while we're on the. I guess you'd call it a title race, even though Chelsea are far out of it now.
You know what? Right, I'm gonna hit something with you. So Ipswich finally win a home game, and they do us a little solid, right, by beating Chelsea. I was like, and I thought of our pod, and I was like, damn, if only we could talk about it. So here we are. Chelsea won, Crystal Palace won. I thought Palace were really resilient. They're showing a lot of resilience.
They are. I think this Palace team's lacking quality where they've had in recent years. I don't think they're as good as like, in recent years, but like you say, they do have that kind of resilience, and that back line's kind of really starting to work well together. But I thought to give a bit of praise, I thought Sancho's turn on the first goal was absolutely ridiculous. But they were really wasteful. I think they had 17 shots and only one on target, and that was the one that they scored.
Mm-hmm. Jackson, by the way,
So
I think they need a striker. Jackson again. He reminded me of Jackson of last season.
that's exactly what I've got wrote down from the game.
Look at that.
Yeah, he's starting to slowly look like the Jackson from last season, and without him, I mean, they've got Nkunku, but obviously he's linked with a move away. So, yeah, it's kind of the tables have turned. Everyone was kind of saying, "Oh, the defense and the goalkeepers where the title race is going to fall down," but really it's the attacking player because Madueke has kind of went off the boil a little bit, and Palmer can't do it all on his own. And Palmer was even to blame for the goal. Really, he gives the ball away and then starts walking back, but nobody will mention that.
I thought it was a lovely goal by Crystal Palace, by the way they
Yeah,
kind of whipped it so quick as well. It's interesting you mentioned that because that is 4 games now without a win for Chelsea, which was right about the right time when they got spoken up and talked up about title
yeah,
rivals. So, and you kind of said they've not got it. They, like they'll fall off, like the pressure will get to them. So, great call from you. I think now, Ben, we should actually talk about the fun game, the 12:30 kickoff briefly. Spurs 1, Newcastle 2. I thought Spurs were a lot better in this game, if I'm being absolutely honest. I actually thought they actually performed pretty well. Sub goalkeeper coming in for the sub goalkeeper, I actually think he did better. Do you think he warrants a start over Forster? Because I feel like he's having a bit of a wobbler. Like I feel like his confidence is in his socks.
yeah. Well, they've just signed the keeper from, I think it's Slavia Prague, for about 12 million. So I'd expect him to come in over the next few weeks. But until then, I would say, what's his name? Is it Austin?
It is, yes.
Yeah. He looked much better than Forster. I mean, it's pretty. If he looked worse than Forster, that would be really worrying. But yeah, maybe yeah, I'd expect him to get a run now. But yeah, the defensive injuries and that are still really haunting them, aren't they? But people kind of forget that Ange's kind of to blame for all them injuries because if you remember, he rushed them back against Chelsea when they shouldn't have played.
Yeah.
And then they played, still conceded 4 and both went off injured again. So it didn't really pay off. But yeah.
You know
Newcastle
what?
are really good.
Newcastle were really good. Now I want to get your thoughts on Newcastle very, very quickly. It was a really, really quick start by Spurs. Solanke getting a goal within like I think 4 minutes, and then Gordon responding instantly. Isak making it 7 in 7 goals now as well. Like he is in some great form. Keep him fit. He's dangerous. Newcastle recently, when you and I spoke last, you were like, no, Newcastle fans aren't really warm on what's going on with Eddie Howe and stuff because he's been beating poor sides, yada, yada, yada. So they've beaten Man United away. They've now, obviously, they beat Man United away, something, whatever. They've now beaten Spurs. You are in the know when it comes to Newcastle. How are they? Because I actually think that midfield trio is really good, by the way. I think they work really hard, but where are they with regards to Eddie Howe and this team?
I still think they're about where I said they were a few weeks ago. I don't think, I don't know, it'll be tricky if they end up getting Champions League football at the end of the season. I think it'll be hard for them to kind of criticise them, but I still think the overwhelming thing is that a new manager will come in soon, and he's kind of took them as far as what he can. But I agree with you. I think they look the best they have for probably 12, 15 months now. That, like you say, that midfield with Tonali starting to really look like the Tonali from AC Milan, and obviously we all know how good Bruno is, and Joe Linton's just an absolute workhorse. But what did you think on the handball? By the way, did you see it?
I did see the
Gordon goal?
You know what? He touched it. But I don't think his hand was in an unnatural position. Like I felt like the ball hit his hand. I don't feel like he stuck his arm out. Like, do you know what I mean? Like he was in the stance of where you'd run or where you'd position yourself. It wasn't like in this weird, unnatural position. So I don't get that. I do think Burns should have been maybe sent off. He's a lucky boy. That one I get because it should have been a second yellow for that one, in my opinion. So that one I get that one, but the handball for me, no, because I'm not being funny. Even though football is not a hand contact sport, unless you're a goalkeeper, you still do need your arms and your hands to kind of run and gauge yourself. And anyone, if like if that's an issue with you, then tie your hands behind your back. I'll see how well the game goes. For me, it wasn't. I'll be brutally honest. I feel like we're really, really slim picking here.
Yeah, I do kind of get both sides because it's not as if it just brushes. It does like it fully redirects the direction of the ball, and then obviously they score 2 seconds later. But yeah, I'm with you. I think his arm's in a natural position, and I don't think it's handball. But yeah, just like Raz, I agree with that. I suppose that was a massive miss for Liverpool today. I think it was illness, wasn't it? So hopefully it's nothing too bad. He'll probably get the Tottenham and Accrington games off, and then we'll be fine from there probably. So I wouldn't worry too much about that.
Yeah, right. So we've covered all the big ones. Which one should we briefly skim over now? Actually, you know what? Let's talk about Southampton 0, Brentford 5. For me, yeah, I think Southampton might be on course to rival Derby here for the all-time
Yeah,
worst tally. I feel like Brentford. I'm going to be honest with you. I feel like they're flat track bullies. I feel like when they come up against a bigger team, I feel like they capitulate. We saw it against
mm,
Arsenal. Great to see them kind of dominate those teams. But I think if I'm a Brentford fan, I want my team to elevate themselves, like a bit like what
yeah.
Bournemouth have. I thought Mbeumo had a fantastic game. Great to see Brentford getting an away win as well. That was probably big for them. But those are my brief takeaways from that game.
Yeah, I get what you mean. They do kind of, it sounds a bit harsh, but they do kind of seem to shrink against the big teams. We've got them in a couple of weeks, actually, so hopefully they shrink again. But I do get what you mean. Some teams around there kind of raise the game, but they kind of, I know they've got a lot of injuries at the minute, to be fair.
Yes.
A lot of defenders out. I think Lewis Potter's playing left back and stuff. So, but going forward, they're brilliant to watch, like Mbeumo and Vissa. Do you know? Can you remember, like, do you know the trend a couple of months ago? Maybe it was like Barclays, man, like those kind of players that are like really fun to watch, like kind of streets won't forget kind of players. I think Viscera and Bremo are kind of like the modern versions of them. But I saw a brilliant video after this actually on social media. I think it was in the Southampton hospitality. I think they do a thing where you have to predict the score of the game and you win a signed shirt. And this woman predicted a 5-0 loss. Got it right. But to make it even better, Adam Armstrong, an actual Southampton player, had to present it with the shirt after the game.
Oh, it's a slap, isn't it?
If you haven't watched the video, go and watch it. It is brilliant. Absolutely, the whole like hospitality place is booing her. She goes and gets the shirt.
That's like the walk of shame. Like literally, like it is so bad. That's brilliant. I'm gonna look for that. I will look for that. Well, thank you. Right. So which one should we go to next?
We'll quickly get Bournemouth Everton out of the way.
I'll let you start with this one.
I don't think there's much to say. Everton are just not very good at football, really, are they? They're good at grinding out results, but they're just, in terms of winning games and going places and winning games, I think they've only beat Ipswich away from home this season. And I think that was kind of like in the early months of the season. So Pickford kept them in it yesterday as well. It could have been way more than one.
I've got that down. And they had 0 shots on target. The XG was 0.67, still higher than Southampton's, who were on 0.29.
Oh, honestly, but they're so, I can't say it enough, they're so boring. So boring.
Let's move swiftly on before we all hit the snooze. Right, so just 2 more games to go now, Ben. So which one should we talk about next?
We'll quickly do Villa Leicester while we're doing the Saturday games, I guess.
Yeah, man. Okay, so Leicester, Aston Villa 2, Leicester 1.
It's a pretty like, I don't know what, it's so weird with Villa because like they're still getting some decent results, but they're just nowhere near as good as last season. I kind of feel like they're nowhere near as like Dortmund. Like, remember last season when people were playing Villa and it was kind of like, not scared, but like you were anxious maybe or a bit wary of what they could do. But this season they're just a bit lackluster, and I think a lot of it comes from Watkins struggling a bit as well, because kind of like he was scoring for fun last season and he's not doing it this year. So Leicester were a bit unlucky, but I think Villa did deserve the win overall. So I don't know. It was just kind of one of those games where the best team won.
Yeah, and also they let that guy go, didn't they? Diaby, who they only had for 1 season. I think he went off to Saudi, and I thought he was a phenomenal player for them, by the way, this season. So I'm not saying they're missing him, but like you're right, there were some obviously key components from that team missing. But yeah,
I think they're trying to sign Marlon from Dortmund just while we're on like the kind of forwards, because obviously Leon Bailey was quite good last year, and I know he scored yesterday, but he's been pretty poor this season. I'm sure it was David Ornstein actually. They're trying to sign Daniel Marlon from Dortmund, so that'll be a really interesting signing. I think it's going to cost them about 20 million or something, but it'll be an interesting one.
It will be an interesting one. With regards to Leicester, Vardy and Ayew were involved in Mavadidi's goal there. Yeah, I feel like it looks nailed on relegation scrap for them. but it is what it is. Let's move on now. Fulham and Ipswich 2-2. You'd think it's a fantastic away point for Ipswich, but they were in a winning position. Shout out to Jimenez, leading all-time Mexican goal scorer in the Premier League now with 55 goals, 2 penalties for him. The lab got a penalty as well. Do you think that those are big points lost for Ipswich, given the fact that they beat Chelsea, they're in a winning position again? I felt like they were on some form. I felt like they were finding some form.
Yeah, we've said this a few times about Ipswich, where they've been in front a few times and haven't been able to see it over the line, and it kind of does haunt you by the end of the season. But it's definitely looking encouraging. I thought they were good today, but yeah, I think a draw was probably about fair. If anything, Fulham probably had more chances. But yeah, I've seen a few people saying that I think it was Leif Davis should have been sent off for the tackle on Wilson when he was the last man, but I'm not sure on that. And I think all the penalties were the right decisions as well. So not too much to complain about. Just on Ipswich though, I know Schmodix and Delap are getting a lot of praise, and rightly so, but another one that maybe want to keep an eye on is Nathan Broadhead, who played today. He hasn't played much this season, but he's a really good player. I remember he was at Sunderland and Wigan, and a couple of years ago, Sunderland, when they were in League One, I think got the League Cup quarter final, and he scored away at Arsenal. So he's really highly rated up here, so he could be one to keep an eye on.
Wonderful. Watch this space. Thank you for that nice little scouting report there. We appreciate that. We've kind of spoke about all the games. There is a game on Monday. There is Monday Night Football. A big one, actually, because Wolves are taking on Nottingham Forest. Both of them have got a lot to play for. I think if Nottingham Forest win, do they not go equal on points with Arsenal?
Yeah.
It's madness. Yeah. Absolute madness. Right, Ben, I think we've kind of spoke about all the key points there from the Premier League. Any takeaways? Anything you kind of want to get off your chest?
I don't know. My head's a bit all over the place after. I was actually thinking before we done the show, I think this is the first time we've done one of these shows straight after kind of a disappointing result, because Newcastle was during the week. We didn't do a show after that. The Fulham one obviously was kind of a bit of a better point because of the 10 men. The Forest one was like a day after, so I could calm down, whereas this is the first time I've had to quickly come on here a bit dejected. But yeah, I don't know. We'll move on. Obviously now 2 cup games, so I don't know, but I kind of feel like I want to play another league game like now.
You kind of want to get it out your system.
Yeah.
I get that. If it makes you feel better, I used to host a post-match show on Anfield Index, and I did it for like pretty much 9 years, and I had to cover Stoke City 6, Liverpool 1.
Oh, yeah. That's a rough one.
Yeah. I'll be honest, it's really good to get it out your system straight away.
That's true.
You'll move on from it. Right, Ben, we have spoke about everything. It's I'm just glad that, I guess put a positive spin on it. I'm glad all the teams drop points as well. We do have a game in hand. Hopefully we learn a lot from this. Players can grow and mature. I'm actually, in a way as well, I'm kind of glad that there isn't league football. Maybe a little break is needed, like maybe just to take that edge off the league and focus on other things might do the players a world of good as well. Before I let you go, Ben, where can people find you and what would you like to plug?
So just Ben Pescott Journal on Twitter. You'll find all my work on there. Any podcasts or articles I do, mostly Fanfield Index and EPL Index, that'll be on there. And just your general kind of like Twitter chit chat, I guess. So just keep an eye out on there.
Oh, here's a quick question. A quick question before you go, Ben. Let's talk about this. Do you think Slot should play Chiesa against Forest as Nunes is suspended? I'm saying no.
Yeah, I'm not too sure on that. I think
Chiesa defensively as well,
Yeah, I think the Accrington game, I think he's pretty much nailed on to start, and maybe get some minutes in the first leg against Tottenham. It'll be interesting to see what lineup he actually goes with against Tottenham. But obviously that Forest game, I think, is about almost 2 weeks away, so we've got.
It's going to be huge. Who would have thought it's going to be huge?
Yeah, the worrying thing is if Liverpool go there and play the way they did today, they'll get beat, and all of a sudden Forest are kind of like breathing down our necks, which is a weird thought, but yeah.
It feels like I'm in like the 80s or something. I don't
Yeah,
know. Like we try time traveled back to the the football legacy era. Right, guys, that is us done with the final whistle. Try keeping your chins up. Hopefully things do get better. Ben, you and I have a little break now as well, which
yeah.
probably a good thing. It was great to have you back. Do give Ben a follow. Do check out his work. From our side, guys, take care. Till next time, up the Reds.